quite like the questions that are asked of me deep inside myself during these things. You know, after 12 hours of constant movement, when the darkness comes in and your mind starts to play tricks on you, is how hard can you hold that line? I'm Jonny Pain. I'm a strength and conditioning coach, and I'm an extreme endurance athlete. Most notably, last year I set a world record climbing Ben Nevis 32 times in a row to achieve the world's first mountain-based vertical marathon. A task that I guess got the attention of Adam and the team at Apex, because they've invited me to be part of Apex, which is 9 times Helvellyn, and something that is supposed to be right up my street. But we've hit a roadblock. It should be a case that I'm out there putting in 6-hour days back to back. I would have put the time aside to be out at night and really just practicing race conditions. As it happens, I've had an intervention with my knee, had to have that aspirated because of a long-standing injury. I've ended up with torn shoulders. We don't even know how that happened. Jiu-jitsu probably. And other things, and really just my body's in a state of breaking down. So training for me now is rehab. It's really very, very basic isometrics, trying to find ways around the injuries where I can continue to maintain an aerobic base and really gaining back function in those joints that are affected. So at the moment, even walking hard and fast is kind of painful in stage 1 of a 3-stage process, maybe 4, to get me to the start line. Well, I mean, that is the other thing, is like we've got all the kind of mechanical problems with the knees and shoulders and stuff, but over and above that, or underneath it probably, is a suspected autoimmune disease. So over the past 6 months, I've been experiencing real bad joint pain, like unable to move, bad joint pain. And obviously that's hampered training, it's been difficult to cope with. But trying to get to the bottom of that's been almost impossible. We thought it was Lyme disease after having spent some time in the mountains where there was plenty of ticks, and it was perfectly sensible to think that that was the case, and I was treated for it. Turned out it wasn't the case. So more and more investigation gone on. A couple of days before you've come to see me, out seeing an endocrinologist, and just trying to get to the bottom of it. But it's something else to have to cope with, and it means that training can't be consistent. And I'm still having to rely on that kind of historical aerobic foundation. Makes everything tough, man. If we look at the main problem that I've got, 2 main problems that I've got are my knee, which obviously I need, and I've just had that aspirated. There's a torn meniscus in there, and there was a huge amount of fluid in there. So now, because I've got a different range of motion, that's very painful. So I'm dealing with the pain there, and I can't put any real impact in it. So it's isometrics and very low level impact cardio, which is very different to the profile of the race. So psychologically that's hard, because I know I'm not doing the things that I probably should be doing in prep. Muscularly, I can't do much in the gym. Again, isometrics and very, very low stress movements. So mostly it's just about regaining movement patterns, just starting afresh. That should be I'm in week 1 of what should be, to me, a 4-week phase. By week 2, I can start implementing a little bit more. By week 3, maybe gain the impact back. So hopefully, if this goes right for me, then by the time I hit the start line, I'll have finished the rehab and be back to kind of where I may have been beforehand, but without the race-specific skill work. I won't have been in the hills, I won't have been able to practice. I'm just relying on the aerobic capacity and previous experience. I wouldn't change that for the world. I wouldn't change any of it. But it does make training tougher to get to. And it does actually, despite the fact that these challenges, this kind of event, is a really big ask of anybody, it's also further down the priority than those things you said. So I've got a family, there's a family of 6, a couple of dogs, trying to run a business. I also consult into other businesses. And that's got to come before training, because those are the things that feed the family. And then actual quality time with the family. The more I train, the less time I've got to spend with them. So I can only do that in pockets for a little bit of time that we essentially negotiate as a family. And that's time that I don't spend with them, which is time that it's difficult because I want to spend time with them. So then we throw in the injury and the illness, and it's like, can I push for these things? It makes things really, really tough. But at the flip side of it, that's why I do it as well. That's a big part of why we do these things. I've got 4 kids, a girl and 3 boys, and all of them, in one way or another, are influenced by the example I'm setting. So if the example I'm setting is to challenge yourself, to be physical, to ask questions of your physical and mental condition, positive questions, and to constantly reassess who you are as an individual. If that's the example that I'm giving them, and this is the price I pay, then I'm happy to pay it. But it has to be balanced really, really carefully. And it can easily teeter into what people think is overtraining when it's just too much stress. It just can't continue, and I have to recalibrate a lot. Yeah, mate, that's a lovely thing to see. Because, you don't know how much of it is actually just them being them. But I guess if we can create the environment where they see physicality, they see the outdoors, they see, challenging yourself and not just sitting in front of a TV screen. There's time for that, they've got their games and switches and all this kind of stuff. But if they see me out doing things, then they're more likely to go out and do things. And so now we've got 4 really physical kids. How much of that's nurture? I don't know, but I'm going to push for it, I like the challenge, but funny enough, this is the first time I've done a lot of things like this, similar demands, similar physical demands. But I think this is the first time it's felt, and this seems ridiculous to say this, but this is the first time it's felt like a very physical challenge. I think beforehand I knew I had the physical capacity, but something that as big as Nevis, or as big as that Project Vertical that I did, the question was whether or not psychologically I could cope with that long. It was 15 days of constant movement and of repeat movement, very much like Apex Everest. In this environment, there's a time constraint, there's other athletes out there, and there's different questions to be asked. So I quite like the way that it was presented to me. And I quite like the questions that are asked of me deep inside myself during these things. After 12 hours of constant movement, when the darkness comes in and your mind starts to play tricks on you, is how hard can you hold that line? And that's where people seem to fail on these things. And in amongst that, it's like it's a kind of a pressure test of my mental capacity. And for whatever reason, that's just as much fun to me as it is to lift some weights and see what the physical capacity is, or to move fast and see what that capacity is. But it's untested. It's really difficult to test that. And things like Apex give us the chance to test that in an environment that's really difficult to create, on your own. Outdoors is everything to me. I think it's the hills, especially the mountains. I love these hills, and like I say, this is the kind of a constant training ground for me. So it feels strange to just be walking through it. Usually I run through it, and you and I both, as we've come up here, have stopped a little more than we normally would and enjoyed the environment. But it's a beautiful place to be. The hills themselves are just so important to me. I've kind of said before that if there was a church I was going to, it's here. It's kind of up here. This is where I kind of feel free and open, and my mind's clear. So any challenge that I'm doing, if I'm training here, it kind of fills me rather than takes away from me. That was a fun thing to. I only really understood that as an adult when they were talking about me as having been a kid. It was my mum would say that, like any other kid, I would moan because we're going to another mountain. to do another outdoor thing, and I'm like, I don't want to, I want to do whatever. And then we'd get there, and I'd sprint the mountain, come back down, meet them, sprint it again. She would always say by the time they'd done however many Munros, I'd done it 3 times over. And that's just, all they did was present me with the mountains, and as soon as I got there, something innate kicked in and just fired through. And these are the same. You take any kid, put them outside, get them a stick and a ball, and they just live there, they just love it. That's what we're doing, is just saying, look at all this. Go and if they don't know how, then they haven't been looking, because it's right in front of them. That's what I'm doing. They are my kids. They're going to be like me, for good or bad. But if I can give them that example, to try and do well, to try and, like I always say, to try and lead with love, and to try and challenge yourself and go out and enjoy yourself.